Hello, good morning everyone. Welcome back to my channel. As a part of learning anatomy, today we will learn about a bone which is the only movable bone on the face, that is the lower jaw. This is the lower jaw bone and this is called mandible. You can see mandible is a horseshoe shaped or the U shaped bone which is attached to the base of the skull to this mandibular fossa. There are two mandibular fossae, one on right side, one on left side, and this bone articulates with those fossae as a bicondylar temporomandibular joint. The details of temporomandibular joint are described in another class. You can have that link in details. Today we will learn about the anatomy and the muscle attachments of the mandible. You can see mandible is a U-shaped bone or the horseshoe shaped bone. It has a ramus. This is the ramus and this entire thing is body. In infants, this bone exists in two pieces and they unite in intrauterine life, and this is the bone that ossifies second to the clavicle, and here this joint symphysis mentae, this joint is called symphysis mentae, is the union of those two pieces here. So this body and this is the ramus. This part is called angle of the mandible. We will see one by one. Now this is the body and this is the part that is behind the chin. So this is called symphysis mentae, and you can see a triangular elevation here. This is the triangular elevation. This is called mental tubercle. Sometimes it is depressed at the center. So this mental tubercle forms the prominence of the chin. Above that is the incisive fossa, because here the upper surface of this body actually consists of sockets for the tooth. This bone is a bone of the old man. It is called edentulous. Edentulous means there are no teeth, because in old days the teeth are gone and the sockets are filled by the fibrous tissue, and there are no sockets, only two canine sockets are seen here. You can see the alveolar sockets will be somewhat like this. These are the sockets for the teeth in the upper jaw. Here also one tooth was extracted probably, and here there is no socket. So these are the sockets for the tooth. So in a middle-aged mandible, the sockets will be seen on the upper surface of this body. So this is the place for the incisor tooth. This is the canine, premolars and molars. So below the incisor tooth and above this mental tubercle, this is called mental tubercle or tuberosity. This is the incisive fossa on either side of it, where the incisivus muscle is attached. So here you can see, from here an oblique line is passing like this, an oblique line. Here you can see an oblique line is passing like this, and you can see depressions on the front of the body, one depression, two depression, and here another one. This depression is the place where a depressor labiae inferioris, the muscle which depresses the lower lip, the depressor labiae inferioris is attached. Here in this depression, the depressor anguli oris, so it depresses the angle of the oral cavity, mouth, angle of the mouth. So that muscle is attached here. So depressor anguli oris is attached here, and here buccinator muscle, the muscle of the cheek. So the blowing muscle or the whistling muscle, the buccinator muscle is attached here. So this oblique line gives attachment for the, this is the depressor labiae inferioris, for the depressor anguli oris and buccinator muscle. This oblique line, if you observe, goes behind the last molar. So, where the pterygomandibular raphe is attached. So, the pterygomandibular raphe is attached. So, pterygoid process, from the pterygoid process, this is the pterygoid process, from here to the mandible, a pterygomandibular raphe is attached here. So, buccinator takes origin in front of that. So, on the mandible, in front of the pterygomandibular raphe, which is somewhat like this, and onto the maxilla also. Behind this, this part gives attachment to the few fibers of the superior constrictor muscle, which also originates from the posterior aspect of this pterygomandibular raphe. Raphe means R-A-P-H-E. Raphe means it is a fibrous band formed by the joint of two muscles. So, two muscles are attached like this, a fibrous band is formed like this. If this is one muscle, if this is one muscle, the fibrous band is there. The muscle which is in front is the buccinator muscle, and the muscle behind is the superior constrictor muscle of the pharynx. So, this is the pterygomandibular raphe which is attached here. So, these are the attachments present here. If you see, lateral to this incisive fossa and almost at the middle of the body, you can see a foramen here. So, this is called mental foramen. This mental foramen is somewhat directed in this direction, and it allows the passage of the mental vessels, that is the mental artery, mental vein, and the mental nerve. So, all these nerves and blood vessels and the nerve comes through this outside to supply the muscles of this area. So, this is the mental foramen. Now, coming to the inner aspect of the body. So, this up to this level is the body. So, if you see, the inner aspect of the body is somewhat irregular. You can see an oblique line or the ridge is going above, an oblique line. So, this is called the mylohyoid line. The mylohyoid line gives attachment to the mylohyoid muscle, which forms the floor of the mouth cavity. So, if this is the mandible in this angle, if this is the mandible, the mylohyoid muscle of both sides forms a floor of the oral cavity like this, upon which the tongue rests. So, this is called diaphragma oris. So, that is the oral diaphragm. So, it is attached to the hyoid bone and takes origin from the mylohyoid line, which is present on the inner aspect of. So, here is the mylohyoid line which is present on the inner aspect of the body. You can see an oblique ridge is there. So, this gives attachment to the mylohyoid muscle. So, up to this mark. So, if you see, there is a big concave depression here near the posterior end of this body or the angle of the mandible. You can see here, this depression is the location for the submandibular gland. The submandibular gland has two parts, one superficial part like this and one deep part is like this. So, this superficial part rests in this fossa, you can see. So, on the posterior aspect and the between this gland and the mandible, we have the facial artery which passes like this, and so from here the facial artery turns onto the mandible and again ascends onto the face, just 1.5 centimeters lateral to the mouth. The facial artery reaches this gland, climbs on it, then again it turns down to ascend over the mandible like this onto the face. So, this is the facial artery is related to this region. Now, you can see there is a groove here. This groove is starting from this foramen. You can see a hole or the foramen is there, not this one, not the large one. You can see a small foramen here. So, here is the foramen. This foramen is called submandibular foramen. Submandibular foramen continues in the body of the mandible as the mandibular canal. The mandibular canal goes inside, and the mandibular canal is connected to the all alveolar sockets. So, the inferior alveolar nerve, which is a branch of the posterior division of the mandibular nerve, passes through this, and it gives branches to the all tooth up to this level, up to this mental foramen, and from there it gives a branch which comes outside as mental nerve, and the remaining nerve continues forward as incisival nerve, and that supplies the incisor tooths. So, while giving anesthesia to extract the tooth, the anesthetic drug is injected somewhere here, so that the nerve is blocked and pain is suppressed. And if you see, this foramen is guarded by some tongue-like projection. You can see a small tongue-like projection here. You can see a tongue-like projection called lingula. This is the lingula. So, the lingula is attached to the spine of the sphenoid bone by means of a sphenomandibular ligament. So, sphenomandibular ligament attaches to the lingula, remember that. So, here this part is called angle of the mandible. Here this is the place for the submandibular gland. This muscle comes down like this. Now, sorry, anterior to this line, you can see a small depression, very smooth depression here in this area. You can see the shine also. So, that is the location of the sublingual gland. These are salivary glands. There are three salivary glands. One is parotid gland, which is present near the ear. Here, this is the parotid gland area, and here the submandibular gland area, and here is the sublingual gland here. So, on either side we have the sublingual salivary glands. Now, if we see the back of the symphysis mentae, you can see small elevations, two above and two below. So, these elevations, those two elevations gives origin for the genioglossus muscle. So, these upper two elevations gives attachment of the genioglossus muscle, which is the main muscle of the tongue. The bulk of the tongue is formed by the genioglossus, which is attached somewhat here, and below that gives the attachment of the geniohyoid muscle. So, geniohyoid, this is called genius. So, genio means related to the mandible. So, from the mandible to the hyoid bone, the geniohyoid muscle is attached to the lower tubercles. So, these are called genial tubercles. These are called genial tubercles. Now, coming to the lower border. So, this is called lower border. The lower border, if you see at the symphysis mentae on either side, we have small depressions here. You can see here, one on either side. They give the origin or the attachment of the anterior belly of the digastric muscle. So, the digastric muscle has two bellies. One is anterior belly, one is anterior belly like this from here, and it continues as the posterior belly, which is attached to the mastoid process here. So, here the intermediate tendon, they are both are joined by an intermediate tendon which is fixed to the hyoid bone. So, here it is fixed. So, the anterior belly of digastric is attached to this. So, this is called digastric fossa. This is called digastric fossa. Then this entire lower border is attached with the investing layer of the deep cervical fascia. The deep cervical fascia is the connective tissue present under the skin and around the muscles of the neck, muscles and the blood vessels of the neck, and in that the investing layer, the outermost layer is attached to the entire lower border of this mandible. So, and this is overlapped here near the angle, the platysma muscle from the neck, which comes and attaches here, and few fibers cross here to attach to the angle of the mouth. So this is about the body of the mandible. The alveolar socket, you all know 2123 is the dental formula in adults. So the sockets will be there. Now coming to the ramus. Ramus is almost a rectangular part which is attached to the body at an angle. So this angle somewhat changes according to the age. So it has four borders: the upper border, the anterior border, the posterior border which is behind, and the inferior border. Up to here is the body. So inferior border, and it has two surfaces. This is the lateral surface. Lateral means outside. So lateral surface and a medial surface. Now coming to the lateral surface, if you see, there is a smooth surface, a triangular surface here, a very clearly seen, a smooth marking, demarcation is here, triangular demarcation, where the parotid salivary gland overlaps this mandible. So this is the parotid salivary gland, and it gives its duct like this, which pierces the buccinator which is present here, and pierces the buccinator and opens into the oral cavity. So this is the place for the parotid salivary gland. Now you can see a very rough markings here, which is due to the attachment of the a muscle of mastication, that is called a masseter muscle. So the masseter muscle is attached like this. The masseter muscle originates from the zygomatic arch. If we see, this is the zygomatic arch. So like this. So this is the zygomatic arch. The masseter muscle takes origin from here, from the maxilla and the lower border of the zygomatic arch and the medial surface of the zygomatic arch, and it crosses like this, attaches on this surface like this. So this entire surface from here to here is attached by the masseter muscle. So the details of the masseter muscles we have discussed in the lesson of the muscles of mastication. You can see that link in my channel. So this is the place for the masseter muscle, and this is place for the parotid salivary gland. Now you can see the upper border is having two processes. One process which is somewhat round and elliptical. So this is called condylar process. This is called condylar process, and a sharp process here a little bit anterior. This is called coronoid process. If you see coronoid process in this angle, it is sharp, and the condylar process is elliptical and arranged transversely. You can see from behind also. So this is arranged transversely at 90 degrees angles to the ramus. So this forms the condylar joint between the mandibular fossa here. This is the mandibular fossa here, you can see, and it is forming like this. This coronoid process is present below the zygomatic arch. You can see here in this angle. You can see this is the condylar process which is forming the temporomandibular joint, and the coronoid process you can see projecting inside the zygomatic arch. You can see here. So this surface is covered by means of an fibrous cartilage, the articular cartilage, and which is involved in the temporomandibular joint, and the joint capsule is attached around this point where it is called as the neck. This is the neck of the mandible. So this is the head of the mandible and neck of the mandible, ramus and body, ramus and body. So this is the neck where the joint capsule and the ligaments, temporomandibular ligament, lateral ligament is attached here. So all ligaments are there that we discussed in the class of the temporomandibular joint. Now coming to the anterior surface of this condylar process, you can see a small depression here, This is called pterygoid fovea. The pterygoid fovea is the place where the lateral pterygoid muscle inserts. The lateral pterygoid muscle we discussed in the muscles of mastication takes origin from the infratemporal surface of this greater wing of the sphenoid, the greater wing of sphenoid. Here the infratemporal surface, here the infratemporal crust is there. So from there the lateral pterygoid originates the upper head, and the lower head originates from the back of the maxilla, and from there the muscle comes behind and as a common tendon it passes through this gap and attaches to the pterygoid fovea, which is present inside the anterior surface of the condyle. So when the muscle contracts, it pulls the muscle like this, so that the mouth is open. So this is the place where the lateral pterygoid muscle is inserted. If we see the upper border of this bone, you can see is concavely notched. So this is called mandibular notch, and this is the mandibular foramen. Here the mandibular nerve is located medial to this ramus in the infratemporal fossa, and it's one of the divisions is muscular division is the mesenteric nerve, which just curves down around this notch like this to supply the masseter muscle, which is present like this. So from its medial surface or the inner surface, the nerve turns like this and attaches. So this is the mandibular notch through which the mesenteric nerve, mesenteric blood vessels pass to supply the masseter muscle, which is present on the lateral aspect. This is the lateral surface, that is the lateral aspect of the mandible. Now you can see the anterior edge of this upper margin, where it joins the the upper margin and the anterior margin, they are continuous as the prolongation. This is called coronoid process. This is the coronoid process. If we see the muscle from this region, this is the temporal region. This is the temporal region from where the temporalis muscle comes down through the gap under the zygomatic arch and insertion means it ends on this process. The temporalis muscle inserts the entire medial surface up to here, and the anterior border and a part of the posterior part of the lateral surface also. You can see a small triangular space is here. This is for the attachment of the temporalis muscle. The entire medial surface, anterior border, the tip, and a part of the upper margin and a part on the lateral surface is attaching place for the temporalis muscle. Now this is the place for the masseter muscle, which occupies the lateral surface of the coronoid process. Now you can see on the medial side, this is called neck of the mandible. Here, if you carefully observe, there is a small groove here. You can see here, this is the small groove where the auriculotemporal nerve, which is originating somewhere here in the infratemporal fossa, it gradually crosses this part, turns onto the lateral surface, then it climbs through the parotid gland as the auriculotemporal nerve. So this is the place for the auriculotemporal nerve, and this place, especially behind this mandibular foramen, is related to the maxillary artery. So the maxillary artery passes through this in this part, and maxillary artery and its inferior alveolar artery, so this is the first part of the maxillary artery. So here it is related. So these are the relations. Now this is the lingula where we see the attachment of the sphenomandibular ligament. Now the posterior border is very smooth and round, overlapped by the parotid gland. This is the angle of the mandible where stylomandibular ligament, which is the thickening of the investing layer of deep cervical fascia, is attached here in this region. This is the place where the stylomandibular ligament is attached. Now you can see this surface is also having a rough markings here, and here you can see this is the place where the medial pterygoid muscle, another muscle of the mastication, is attached. So this is the medial pterygoid, this is the place where the medial pterygoid muscle attached. The roughness or the markings are due to the muscular septa present in the muscle. So this is about the attachment of the medial pterygoid. So this is how the mandible is present. These are the attachments and everything to the mandible. So once recollected, so it consists the parts of the mandible are the body, ramus, head and neck, and it has two processes, one condylar process, this is the condylar process, this is the condylar process, and this is the coronoid process. And the body consists an upper surface which has the alveolar sockets. This is an old person's mandible, so edentulous, that means the tooth are gone, all teeth are gone. So this is the edentulous. So this is the place for the alveolar sockets. Here the molar tooths are present, here the premolar tooths are here, this is the canine, and here the incisor tooth will be seen. So this is the symphysis mentae, and this is the mental tuberosity or the mental tubercle. You can see mental foramen here, and these are the places for the this is the depressor labiae inferioris, depressor labiae or depressor anguli oris, and here the buccinator muscle is attached. Here this is the place for the attachment of the pterygomandibular raphe, and here a part of the superior constrictor muscle of the pharynx is attached. Now on the lower border, the entire lower border is attached on the medial aspect by means of the deep cervical fascia, the investing layer of deep cervical fascia, and the outer margin is attached by the platysma muscle. The platysma muscle somewhat, the posterior fibers crosses this part and reaches the angle of the mouth. Now coming to the symphysis mentae, you can see two depressions on the lower border, which is for the attachment of the anterior belly of digastric muscle. So this mental foramen is for the passage of mental nerve and the mental blood vessels, that is arteries and vein. Now if we turn on the inner aspect, we have the mylohyoid line, which is for the attachment of the mylohyoid muscle. Below that we have the groove, the mylohyoid nerve and blood vessels pass through this, and also they give branches to the anterior belly of the digastric muscle, which is coming like this. So this is the mandibular foramen. Remember, mandibular foramen is inside, mental foramen is outside. So this mandibular foramen is having a projection called lingula. This is the lingula, small tongue-like projection. So this lingula is attached by the spinomandibular ligament, which is from the spine of the sphenoid bone to this lingula. So here the area below this line near the angle of the mandible is the place for the superficial part of the submandibular salivary gland. Here you can see this is the attachment of the medial pterygoid muscle, and this is the place for the sublingual gland. Both are separated by the mylohyoid muscle. So this is the sublingual gland. You can see genial tubercles. The upper tubercles give attachment to the genioglossus muscle, and the lower tubercles gives attachment to the geniohyoid muscle. So this is the coronoid process. On the medial surface gives attachment to the temporalis muscle, and here this is the pterygoid fovea for the attachment of the lateral pterygoid muscle. This condylar surface is covered by a fibrous articular cartilage, which is involved in the temporomandibular joint. On the outer side, this is the place where the masseter muscle is attached, and this is the place which is covered by the parotid salivary gland. So these are the details of the mandible. So to understand the submandibular region and the other muscles of mastication and temporomandibular joint, you have to have the knowledge of this mandible. Thank you very much. Please do like, please share, and please subscribe to the to my channel and ring the bell icon so that you can get the latest videos of mine. Thank you very much.